Ghosts, ghouls, specters, poltergeists, spirits. Many names have been given to the presence that can be seen or felt or smelled. But is it real? Or do we just enjoy scaring ourselves?
Join us, Amelia
and Beth,
two cousins trying to figure out history's bumps in the night. Is it residual energy, ghosts, time loops, angels?
We're not going to do any demons, though.
We're here to hear all your best ghost stories in the region and look back at some of the area's favorite legends. So join us and our EMF readers as we try to decipher possible EVPs and talk to some experts in the paranormal realm.
You can find us on Insta or Twitter at Ghost Hunting in New England or email us ghosthuntinginnewengland@gmail.com.
Don't forget to click subscribe and get ready for your new favorite spooky podcast.
Welcome to Ghost Hunting in New England.
Bye. And we are so happy to announce our first ever guest here at New England Ghost Hunting Podcast.
You don't even know the name of our podcast. Would you like me to start?
You can start.
Hi, we're so excited today to welcome our very first guest to Ghost Hunting in New England's podcast, and his name is Barry Corbett. He's part... Yay!
Thank you.
He's part of the Boston Paranormal Investigators Group, and Amelia knows much more about that, so she can give you a much more robust introduction.
So I've actually gone on a couple investigations with Boston Paranormal Investigators, which is how I met Barry, and I'd been with some other groups before. I find Boston Paranormal Investigators to be the most thorough, the most actually interested in uncovering something, not these people trying to get their own TV show, not people looking for ghosts necessarily, not that they aren't looking for ghosts, but they're not there to prove they're not there wanting to get a ghost. They're there to prove if there is or is not a ghost there. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
good.
Barry,
welcome.
Tell us about yourself.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on. I'm the lead investigator for BPI. We're based in Waltham. It was founded in 2006, over 12 years ago, by our leader, Tom Elliott. And in all that time, he's done hundreds of investigations, explored haunted areas in the whole New England area, not just Boston, the 4 or 5 states around it. Handled private cases, done research, examined facts and data, and been a ball. I haven't been with him that long. I've only been with him myself 2.5 years. But Tom has slowly been handing down the reins to myself. I'm more of an organizer, so I'm the lead investigator at this point.
Very cool. So in those 2.5 years, how many investigations would you say you have been on, approximately?
About 14 areas, 7 or 8 private cases.
Okay, so what interested you in the paranormal? Like, what made you want to join this group?
Well, I guess it was horror movies initially. As a kid, everyone loves that stuff. And I've always been fascinated with ghosts and the afterlife, wondering what the great answer to the mystery, if there's life after death. And I've seen these things on the internet, started to get interested. We've all seen the television shows over the years.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Finally came across Tom's meetup group. He has a meetup called Boston Paranormal. And after hesitating a few months, I signed up and went to a couple of meetings, and I was hooked right away. It was really fun.
What was your hesitation in signing up?
I'm just nervous. I'm a little shy, that's all.
Fair enough.
Not that I'm not afraid of ghosts or anything. I'm just...
it's the other people. It's the living people that are there.
It's the people that scare me.
I totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
100%. So,
did you go by yourself? Or
Yeah.
Okay. So you were even more brave to go by yourself to meet up with these group of people that you'd never been with before.
Yeah, they're a strange bunch.
Okay.
They were pretty scary.
And so how many people are in the group?
BPI is a little unusual. Most ghost hunting groups, they're like 4 or 5 man person team, and they don't enlarge their group at all. They keep it that size forever. Tom's got a different philosophy. He thinks everyone should be able to join if you bring an interest or if you can contribute something to the group. So it's usually about 10 to 15 regular members We meet every month in Waltham on Monday nights and discuss what's going on with the cases.
And I'm sorry, that background noise is not a ghost. It is someone moving something in the hallway, which I think our speakers are picking up on right now.
Are you sure that wasn't a ghost?
I brought some ghosts.
I'm not
with
sure.
I wanted me to bring some ghosts. So.
Okay, so, and on to the topic of ghosts. Have you seen a ghost?
Seeing an actual full-bodied apparition is pretty rare, even in our circles. No. I have seen many things that convince me that they do exist. There have been a couple of members in our group that have seen them. In fact, only recently we had a pretty good event at the Wayside Inn up in near Concord. We saw a shadow figure inside the hotel room. I didn't see it. I had left like an hour earlier.
and we left probably 2 hours before you left, because we were there at the beginning, and then after dinner we got sleepy. So
yeah, they were both here for the
food
initial.
was really good.
Food was great, yeah. But the inn was so crowded for that whole first 2 or 3 hours that we really couldn't get anything accomplished.
Right.
So we had to wait for it to get quieted down, and that's when things started to happen.
And isn't that how it always is?
Yeah, bizarre.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. And so what has been your favorite ghost hunt you've been on so far?
I have to say, the Oliver House in Middleton, Mass. is one of my favorite places to explore. We've been there twice. It was actually the first haunted home I had been to a couple of years back. And what we normally do is we try to gather and this. Let me back up a little bit. This is a historic building built in, I think it was 1780 something. Most of these old buildings in Massachusetts, they're great locations for finding something like this, for one thing, just because they go back so far. For another, because in colonial days, a lot of people died within their homes. There was plenty of violence. There's a few wars in all that time period. So a lot of times they get quite a bit of activity in these historic homes. So those are the places we like to investigate a lot. So in Middleton, what we did is we rented the place for an evening, to about 6 hours, and you could wander around all the grounds. And there's about 8 or 9 rooms within the house itself, 2 stories. And we go from room to room, try to be as quiet as possible. That's the procedure. We normally try to get capture EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon. You've probably seen it on the TV shows. You get out the digital recorders and you just try to initiate contact with any spirits that might be involved. Nobody spoke to us initially, but the first thing I noticed when we got there was the dining room was icy cold. It was about 15 degrees colder than the rest of the home.
And when you go, you guys bring thermometers to test all this.
Yeah,
correct?
we do. We got all kinds of material for collecting data. Yeah, thermometers, digital recorders, EMF meters, thermal image cameras. But yeah, so we take a notebook with us everywhere we go. That's probably the most important piece of equipment we have. And we rely on our senses a lot, not just the cameras and the recorders, by listening and feeling changes in the air, changes in the temperature, recording changes in the temperature. Let me back up. The procedure we actually follow is we come into a place like this and we take the EMF meters and we try to measure out, record data for anything that's normal, like, for example, the electrical appliances. We want to make sure they find out what kind of electricity they're giving off, so we can eliminate that and make sure that's not what we're reading. So we'll go around every room in the house. We'll make sure, okay, this is a lamp, this is a refrigerator, this is a microwave. These are the things that are giving us these certain readings. And we make notes and what time we record the data, what the temperature was in the room, and if there was any additional electrical activity. Now, if we come back later on in the evening, we find a spike, something that's changed. So that's more interesting to us. We find out there must be something going on. At that point, we still have to debunk it, see if it's still something electrical, something that's changed. Maybe the power kicked on or something. Maybe the refrigeration unit or the air conditioning kicked on.
Yeah.
So those are the things we always have to eliminate. So we come in, we go from room to room. Once we've recorded all this data, then we kick back and relax and try to sit still and listen to the home if it's quiet enough. See if we can hear the kind of noises the home itself makes, so we can get used to that. Because every home makes creaks, things vibrate and they shuffle, the wind blows, a branch hits it. There's all kinds of things
Right,
that can throw you off track. when we start hearing something unusual, we might concentrate our attention to that area of the room or the building. Then, if we're familiar with the history of the house, we'll concentrate on, say, there'd been a story of a haunting in a certain room, or an event that happened in a certain room. Within all of our house, there was plenty of accidents, plenty of deaths within the home. One of them was a 3-year-old child had been scalded by boiling water in the kitchen. It was the servants' quarters, the kitchen. And that area has been known to have a lot of activity.
And that killed him?
Yeah, it was a baby girl. Yeah, killed her.
Gosh.
Yes. Yeah, very sad story. I mean, all kinds of tragic things happened in the home. 4 different families own the home over the years, and they've all had their own version of tragedies. So when we hear something like that, we know what area in the home is going to be infused with this, I don't know if you call it negative energy, but traumatic energy. Something's happened in that area. So you got a good chance of finding something right there. We didn't in that room that night, but that's the room that was cold. That was about 15 degrees colder for 2 hours. And then later on in the evening, we came back to, it was back to normal temperature, back to 65 degrees. So for those 2 hours, something was different within that room.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we have data we recorded, we measured this, and it wasn't just our senses. We can back it up with the measurements.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the night. Not a lot happened that first night, but we did, from that point, we moved from room to room, see if we could make something happen by interacting. You turn on the recorders and you try to initiate a conversation. And you've seen us do it. You were in the Wayside.
Yeah.
If we know the history, we might try to name the spirits. You know, is this Roger? Is this Jack? Is this Mary, who we think passed away within the home? We try to give them a little extra time to answer. So there's a lot of waiting. It's hours and hours of waiting in most locations, most investigations.
So Amelia and I had gone and we had done another recording session where we were trying to find something, and she had spoken very slowly into the recorder, and I had noticed that when we were at the Wayside Inn as well, you had spoken very slowly into the recorder. And so I was just kind of curious about when you're looking for those like EVP conversations, like why maybe people try to speak so slowly like that. Is it just
no, it's like I've gotten into the habit because we want to give them time to respond, and somehow you end up coming into that kind of mode of speaking. Not everyone does it, but yeah, I've been guilty of it for sure. I'm also trying to be clear with my
with your diction.
My diction, yeah. My voice doesn't always carry, so I make a little extra effort when I'm recording.
So for me, it's the same thing, and also I find I speak slower in case someone's trying to talk over me. You know what I mean? On the recording when you listen back. So that, which has never happened to me, but in my head it could. So that's part of the reason I do it. So at one point you said, and it reminded me of something I did want to ask you about this kind of traumatic energy in the room or in the house. So a lot of times, I mean, there are obviously so many theories about what this paranormal stuff is, and just, I guess, what are your thoughts on theories of ghost happenings just being leftover energy or being a time loop, things like that? I don't know if that's something you can speak on.
Yeah, time loop's an interesting concept. It's a big question is what are ghosts? For one thing, do they exist? Obviously, we're in a paranormal group, and we probably believe they exist. So a lot of people don't believe it. I didn't when I was much younger. I didn't believe they existed, but I've seen things since then that convinced me otherwise. I think, well, there's 3 types of ghosts. We classify them. Okay. An intelligent ghost is one that interacts with you. You get a conversation going. If you ask them to knock on the wall, they'll knock on the wall. They'll make noises for you, or they'll try to initiate contact with you. That's the intelligent ghost. The more common one is called a residual haunting. You might have the same action repeated over a number of years. Say footsteps going up the hall at 9 o'clock every single night. Mm-hmm. No matter what you do, no matter who's in the house, those footsteps are always there at that time. That's a residual ghost. And that's where we come back to the question, what are they? Because I think that seems to be an echo of a traumatic incident in the past that leaves its impression on the building.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the ghost, the spirit itself, or if it's an energy remnant left over from the psyche of a person that was once alive. No one can answer these questions. These are the things we